Friends, it's now been about 2 weeks since I've had the 078S, and I've had a lot of fun exploring this grinder, trying out different coffees, and I've probably put about a kilo through it so far. So I thought I should let you know what my experience has been, what my thoughts are. And also thanks to everyone who saw my last video. It's been amazing to see so many comments and views. So if you really like the video, then please don't forget to subscribe. Now in this video, I'm going to compare the 078S with my Niche Zero. I've had the Niche Zero for a couple of years, I think, and I've probably put about, I think 8 to 10 kilos through it. So it's a fairly well-seasoned grinder. Now you might say it's not a fair comparison. After all, the 078S is a flat burr grinder with a larger burr size, whereas the Niche Zero is a 64mm conical burr grinder. However, they are both within the same price range, at least in the UK. The Niche, I think, retails for £550 and the 078S for £595. Of course, the Kickstarter price was much cheaper. Now, I'm not going to go into the technical details, but I'm going to focus on what's important to the end user, so people like you and I. First of all, let's look at build quality. Now, it's fairly obvious, both these grinders are really well built. The 078S has a slimmer profile and is smaller than the Niche, but it's reassuringly heftier. So I think it's about 7 kilos. It's really heavy as compared to the Niche, which weighs about 4 kilos. It's a smart looking grinder. The Niche, the design, I think it looks a little bit tired. The power plug of the 078 is detachable, unlike the Niche, and it doesn't really look high end, but honestly, it doesn't matter. The container of the 078S, I really like it. I love the magnets. They work quite well. I would have preferred, however, if this fitted the portafilter snugly. But transferring the grinds is not really a problem. I prefer the quality of the Niche container, as grinds do not stick to it. It fits the portafilter quite well. It's also easier to do WDT with the Niche as compared to the container of the 078S. That's probably because my WDT tool is not long enough. Let's talk about retention next. Both these grinders have near zero retention. The 078S has virtually no retention. It's really impressive. With the Niche, I find that sometimes grinds are retained and I need to use a tool to make sure that the last of the grinds have come out. Now you may argue that the small amount, does it really matter? The amount retained is trivial. I disagree. I think that any retained grinds can impair the quality of the espresso, but I'm nitpicking here. Now let's talk about the sound. The 078 is quieter and faster than the Niche. It also has an adjustable burr speed. Now the effects of RPM on grind size and coffee quality, it's still up for debate. We know from experiments by Prometheus that about 800 rotations per minute is optimum. Any higher and the espresso is likely to be worse, and at lower RPM you get better clarity. So about 800 to 1000 RPM I think is a reasonable compromise. Let's talk about dialing in. The Niche, really easy to dial, and it has a very large range. The 078S unfortunately is not very user-friendly. It's really difficult to read what the grind setting is at. Now there is a red marker to help, but as you can see, depending upon what angle you're looking at, the setting seems different. Now I use a toothpick to help me, so I know how many notches I've moved the dial. The other problem is that small movements can produce large changes in output. So for the coffee that I'm currently using, one notch equates to 5 to 8 seconds. Next, we'll talk about the channeling issue. You all heard about it, and some have suggested that the 078S needs to be seasoned with at least 6 to 7 kilograms to make it usable. Otherwise, it's a no-purpose grinder. Now, my observations have been different and they haven't changed. The grinder does not need seasoning. It can make great coffee without. I mean, of course, you can do what you like, it's your prerogative. but in my view, it's a waste of coffee. And even if you're using low quality coffee beans which are going to be thrown away anyways, it's still a waste of energy. Also, the grinder is not designed to grind such large amounts in a short duration. So we really don't know what impact it is having on the grinder motor, what stresses it is putting the motor through, what impact it's going to have on the longevity of the grinder. Unlike my Mazda Super Jolly is a workhorse, I have no qualms about putting 6 to 7 kilos through it. Next, we'll talk about the WDT. I can't emphasize how important this is. Try and do WDT for at least a minute and longer if possible. It will eliminate almost all your channeling problems. If you're like me and you drink maximum of 2 or 3 cups of coffee a day, that means an additional 3 minutes. I mean, it's not a large amount of time. Please don't waste hours trying to season the grinder and potentially ruin it. Now, hopefully with time, things will get better and you might not need to do as much WDT. Now, as to why WDT helps, I can only speculate. Now, we know that in an unseasoned grinder, it produces grinds with a large size distribution, and as you season it, the grind size distribution becomes narrower. Possibly how WDT works is that it helps to distribute the different grind sizes evenly. I mean, this is just speculation. And now finally, the most important of all, what does the coffee taste like? I mean, I honestly don't care what the grinder looks like, what the workflow issues are. What's more important to me is what flavors you get out of it. The niche does really, really well for dark roasts. Now, I roast on my Genie Cafe and it is almost impossible to roast a medium roast. They always come out towards the darker end. And I really enjoy what the niche does with them. But my preference is for medium roasts. And I've always struggled with the niche. The flavors were good, but they were nowhere as good as what my local specialty coffee produces. And I always thought it's because it's my technique, it's probably not right. Maybe I need a different profile, maybe my brew water is not correct. Turns out it's none of those issues, it's my grinder which was the problem. I mean, guys, the flavors from the 078S, they are amazing. The very first time I had the coffee from the 078S, I was literally blown away. You know, the depth of flavors, the vibrancy, I've never been able to get that from the niche for medium roast coffee. Now, Aramse, in his review, he used the analogy of a painting of a masterpiece to describe the flavors of the 078S. He felt that the 078S was like looking at a high quality print of a masterpiece. I mean, it is quite difficult to describe flavors of burrs, but I'm going to use music as an analogy. So the niche is like listening to a great piece of music, like my favorite, the Swan Lake, listening to it on your TV speakers. It's still pleasant, still enjoyable. The 078S is like listening to the same music on your hi-fi system. The depth, the vibrancy, and the occasional notes which are being highlighted, all of them work together in symphony to produce a truly wonderful experience. Every sip that I have of the coffee is pure joy. So final thoughts, niche is a great grinder, excellent for dark roasts. I've not tried the 078S for dark roast, but I don't see any reason why it's not going to perform well. For medium roast, there really isn't no comparison. The 078S for me is a clear winner in its budget range. And if you manage to snap it up for the Kickstarter price, then congratulations, you've done really well. You're not going to get a better grinder for this price. So thanks for watching, guys, and if you found this video helpful, then please don't forget to subscribe.